I'm Gab, he's Jules. Blue skies over West London, not so much over North London as Arsenal are out of the League Cup. A tremendous win from Newcastle. That's going to be our main thing. But that's not the only stuff that's going on, because we're going to reflect on so much of the big deals that happened on deadline day. Yeah. Milan beating Roma 3-1 in their Coppa Italia semifinal. Real Madrid. Who's Gonzalo Garcia? I bet you. Now we know.
Yeah, now we know.
And look ahead to the big Madrid derby as well this weekend. But we have to start at St. James Park.
Yeah, big game.
Now, okay, we have to talk Arsenal because they lost. However, I think we need to focus a little bit more on Newcastle. For those who don't know, outside, I know many of our listeners are from outside this scepter dial. Newcastle have a remarkable history in the sense that the last trophy they won was in 1969, I believe, and it was the Intercity Fairs Cup, a.k.a. the UEFA Cup, a.k.a. that later became the Europa Cup and then the Europa League, but whatever. It's been an obsession, winning, blah, 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 because they have this incredible support. I think sometimes Newcastle fans almost get kind of patronized a little bit by the rest of England. There's issues of geography as well. Newcastle's kind of in the far northeast. It's sort of at the edge of the country, whatever else. But they have this idea, these sort of adoring fans, like, Geordie fans in Newcastle, blah, blah, blah. But they put on an incredible atmosphere. They're often described as long-suffering.
Yeah.
And they're through. And I feel like this feels different. They were 2-0 up from the first leg, Jules. And the fact that they went and they beat Arsenal, and I think they beat Arsenal comprehensively, just after that big Arsenal win over Man City at the weekend, I think this gives them such a lift, such a confidence that I'm not going to say they're automatic favorites in the League Cup final because we don't know yet who they're going to play.
Yeah.
But they're riding high.
Yeah, I mean, they were not great, not in good form going into the game, but they had this 2-goal advantage from the first leg where really I think they made the difference because they were then allowed for this game on Wednesday night to play with a back five, to really go to defend that lead, which is the right thing to do. They went against what they're usually good at and play very differently. They had 25% of the ball. They scored on a long ball, and it's a great finish in the end, but it's still a long ball. And then they scored the second goal on a mistake by Arsenal. But so they did really well what they had to do to protect that lead from the first leg. And for that, it worked really well, and they deserve credit. Isak again, outstanding. Murphy, outstanding. That back five worked really well because Arsenal created a few chances. But certainly the first goal in this game was always going to be, even more than usual, it's a bit of a cliche, but always going to be the key here. If Newcastle scored first, it would be a 3-goal advantage. There was just no way back. If Arsenal scored first, then you could imagine the tension a little bit within the stadium, and Arsenal could hope to come back and to at least try to beat that deficit from the first leg. But it wasn't, and credit to Newcastle's second final in 3 years. Maybe they can win this one.
And that first goal, of course, some people will say, should have been Odegaard because he had that chance.
Yeah,
I would rewind it a little and say it was Isak. That goal was struck off at offside. There's no automatic offsides. I don't know what they look at, how they look at it. Sometimes they draw lines and we see them on the screen. Sometimes we don't, but whatever. The way they played, I mean, he hadn't played a back five at all this season. Although there were shades of when they were in the Champions League last year.
Yeah.
They sometimes wheeled out these hyper counter-attacking lineups. I have no issue with it whatsoever, and I don't think you do either, Jules.
No, it's good tactics from Eddie Howe.
If anything, it's the ability to play one way and then play another way.
Yeah, but they played like that because they had the 2-goal advantage. If they had lost the first leg or the first leg has been a draw, they would not have played with the back five. They played the back five to control their first leg advantage, which is completely fair. It's like you could do that for the last 20 minutes in a game where you 2-0 up. Very similar things, except this one is over 2 legs. You've won the first leg, you protect that advantage for the second leg by playing a back five, being very solid defensively, not giving much to Arsenal.
It does mean, though, if Arsenal had scored the first goal, like you said, and he's got that back five with... Essentially, it was a 5-4-1. I mean, 5-3-2, 5-4-1. Gordon was kind of going back and forth between the front line and the midfield. He would have had a decision to make anyway, whether you can outlast them playing like that. Jules, let's talk Alexander Isak because, of course, I don't know. He's first, second, or third in the Premier League in terms of goals this season. I genuinely don't remember the table, but he's right up there.
Fourth, I think. Yeah, but yeah.
Oh, because of Chris Wood's hat trick. Sorry, he's right up there
Salah, Haaland, then
with Mo Salah, Erling Haaland, and Chris Wood, three of the best center forwards in Premier League history.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chris Wood. We're having a great season.
We love you.
We love Forest in the Championship.
We love you.
Unlike the other guys, obviously he makes nowhere near as much as Haaland and Salah, or Chris Wood, who's a very rich man. No, I got to stop with this one. But unlike the other two, he feels like he is kind of the guy on the cusp. I'm not dissing Newcastle in any way, but if there is somebody who wants sort of an instant fix target man, he was the guy that you might look at. To go to a club that gets in the Champions League every year and whatever. That's if you can't afford Chris Wood. I got to stop. Evangelos, I'm trying to help your finances here. I'm struck by the fact that he has a combination of athleticism and physical strength that other people don't have. Mohamed Salah certainly doesn't have. And if we're comparing him to these others, Chris Wood doesn't have the speed part. And Erling Haaland, his game is not as all around. I think, again, I've said this many times, I think it could be as Isak's. And we've seen him score through power. We've seen him score through speed. The disallowed goal, whatever, it was very close. But like that kind of burst, that finish, I thought that was special. And then the goal with Saliba. That's William Saliba he holds off. Arguably the best center back in the Premier League. Yeah. For me, one of the top 5 in Europe. That takes a lot.
Yeah, Saliba struggles against him every single time pretty much. I know other centre backs do, but he's the best number 9 in Europe for me, really.
Wait. He's the best number 9 in Europe.
Yeah.
Better than Harry Kane.
Yeah,
better than
Mbappe.
Better than Haaland. Better than Lewandowski.
Yeah, better than Lewandowski. Because
Sorry,
I just think
you just slipped it in there. We have to. You just said he's better than Mbappe.
I know. On the whole season, I know nobody's really better than Mbappe.
Okay. All right.
But on this one, I just think he's that good, and you summed him up really well. There's nothing more I can add. He just has everything. The others have a lot. Some have everything, but maybe not at his level. Certainly on this season, on the form, I know he hasn't scored for 2 games in a row now, but before that, he was in incredible form. There's just nothing he cannot do. The physicality, the pace, the technical ability. He's much better technically than Haaland, for example. He's just, I think he has everything. He's young.
Much better technically than Haaland.
Yeah, definitely. We can't even compare them. Like he's at kind of a Harry Kane level. I think he can play 10 easily. And I just think the football IQ, the intelligence, just nothing. The only thing you could have said maybe before was the fragility physically, because he missed quite a few games when he was younger. It seems that even that is not there anymore. The other thing, I guess, is the very little Champions League experience that he has, because he hasn't actually played that many games in the Champions League. So we haven't really seen him in the Champions League quarterfinals, second leg, where the pressure is high and you've got that chance to score. So that kind of environment we haven't seen. He played group stage with Newcastle and scored 1 goal. That was it. So he has 1 goal in the Champions League. So on that point, he's not at the level of Kane, Haaland, Lewandowski, Mbappe, all that kind of guys. But on the form of this season, for me, he's outstanding. And really, I love Newcastle. It's a great club for him right now. But he's a Champions League player. He has to play Champions League every season. And if Newcastle doesn't offer that, he would then go to a club that offers him that.
It's interesting because obviously when we look at the transfer market and what direction it's going in, and what clubs might be looking for center forwards, I kind of get the sense he might actually be there for a little while. Simply, if you're Newcastle, there's other pieces you want to sell. We've seen them. The Newcastle are determined not to be propped up to ridiculous levels by their Saudi owners, right? And they're also determined to respect PSR rules. So far, they've moved other pieces when they've had to move them. So I think this is going to be interesting. I am not one of those people who thinks it's a given that Isak's going to be on the move in the summer, simply because he's so important to Newcastle.
Yeah.
They can legit ask her such a huge price, unless he engineers a move or something like that.
Yeah.
Or gets into a contractual
that
situation.
Might be the thing, yeah.
we talked about Howe's tactics. Obviously, was defending and counterattacking, and why wouldn't you? Between
Yeah,
Isak and
exactly.
Gordon, you've got two of the quickest players
Absolutely.
around.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there were moments when they pressed as well, and I'm thinking of the second goal. The guy who
Yeah.
nicks the ball off of Declan Rice is a center back. It's Fabian
Yeah.
Schär. That tells you something as well, or was it just that essentially the 3-0 up at that point, and you can send people to press even from the back line, and it's okay?
No, because he's done it before, and maybe I don't know, 5 minutes before the goal, there's a similar situation where Raya has the ball and Strang is looking to play out from the back, and Rice has Schär behind him already, and Rice does this little run and then run on the other side to try to get an extra yard on Schär, which he does. Raya plays him the ball, he plays it wide, no problem. This time, Schär, who's a really smart player, doesn't fall for it, for the little dummy that in his running that Rice does, and this time he's on the ball. But if you play with a back five and Arsenal have only one forward, you obviously have three centre backs for one forward. That obviously frees easily one of your three centre backs, and that's how also I think in Eddie Howe's mind the idea was like, okay, let's say Arsenal score first, and then we have to change a little bit of tactics, and instead of waiting and counter, we can go and press higher up, which they do at the start of the second half, which they did at the start of the first half as well. Then Schär is perfect. Schär can push up on Rice. You will have Isak on Partey, and then obviously Gordon and Murphy on wherever is the closest to the ball, either fullback or Odegaard or Lewis Kelly, whoever. And that's exactly what happened. And Schär could have just been there and never recovered the ball the whole game. But that one time he did, and then it's a great finish by Gordon. So that's also why I think Howe went for a back five.
So you weren't here. You didn't do the show after the first leg when Mikel Arteta came out and commented about the ball that was used in this game, and to much hilarity, it sounded like sour grapes. Probably not the cleverest thing to say, because inevitably, now that they're knocked out, Newcastle trolled them mercilessly about the ball. Even the official Newcastle account had a picture of the ball and everything. And is this a thing, or was he talking about something very specific? Or
I just think if you've played football once in your life, you know that everybody's different. You can't tell me that a Nike ball is the same as an Adidas ball, which is the same as a Mitre ball, which is the same as an Umbro ball. Every ball is different. They're not made the same way. So are they different? Of course they are different. Does that have an impact at this level? It should not have, really.
And
I love Mikel Arteta, but it's the same ball for everybody.
Yeah. And if you care so much about the ball, presumably you can have them shipped to you.
Oh, they do.
And you can train with the ball.
Yeah, they do. They do, yeah.
That's what most clubs do.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
and Newcastle did the same thing too. It's not like Newcastle get to play with their own special ball.
But you play in the Champions League with a different ball than you play in the Premier League, and yet you have a lot of Champions League balls to train with before games. So that's not an issue.
On the Arsenal front, when we talk about the squad construction and the way it was built this year, so much focus has obviously been endlessly Kai Havertz, proper number 9, blah, blah, blah. We both expressed our feelings on that. We don't need to go further. I think we both agree that they could probably use another body. Obviously, the injury to Bukayo Saka and to Gabriel Jesus means that the people who are there have to play more minutes. Sterling, less so, but especially Martinelli, who came off injured as well, incidentally, in this game. This is what strikes me about Arsenal this season. I'm seeing very obvious signs of fatigue. Even in the City game, which they won 5-1. If you look at the way the goals unfolded, it was individual moments, it was mistakes from City. Now they can still win, they can still gut it out. Obviously, you've got adrenaline, you're playing Manchester City. Is this something that's kind of catching up with them a little bit? Because I look at this and I also consider the fact that Calafiori's missed a lot of time through injuries. Obviously, they have Ben White and Tomiyasu to return. Although I feel like every week I say, "Oh, Ben White and Tomiyasu are coming back," and then they never come back. I just think of it in terms of squad management, and it strikes me that while we're seeing some on a broader level, we're seeing some teams in Europe who say, at Inter, Simone Inzaghi says, no, I need to use 16 players every single game. I have to. You get booked, you're coming off, unless you're one of the best players, or there's certain game situations. My wing backs, I'm going to change them every game in the 60th minute. Arteta, maybe he's a little bit of the Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola is the complete opposite.
Yeah.
He plays the same guys, or at most, he'll make 1 or 2 changes in a game. Is this something that, Arteta's going to revisit, you think, next year?
I don't know. It's an interesting question. I hadn't looked. To be fair, I haven't looked yet at all the underlying stats of like the running and stuff.
I can
like
tell you,
that
Havertz
to
has
see-
played has
No,
played
I know how
virtually.
much they've played. I
Yeah.
just didn't look into this game how much they ran and that kind of stuff. So maybe they were a bit tired. I think he had to play the strongest 11 possible because they were 2
Yeah.
goals down from the first leg. And
Which,
if you want to go for the
arguably,
final-
other than Ranieri, he did that.
Yeah. I think it was this. No, well, even without Ranieri, I think this was the starting lineup, which was the same as against City. Is the lineup right now the best lineup that they can?
Okay, I think they're better with Ranieri. If you didn't want to do it because you just come back from injury or whatever, but I think Ranieri is orders of magnitude better. Maybe if he hadn't had this injured spell, but in the same way that he was ready to play Lewis Skelly ahead of Calafiori,
Yeah.
I think maybe if Ranieri weren't still coming back from injury, I think Ranieri would have started on the right. Don't you think?
No, I don't think he's ahead of Martinelli and Trossard in the picking order, and I don't think he should be either. And I don't, like I said many times, I don't think he's even his best position. So he was good at the end against City. He was good against Brentford away. He was good for that first half against Brighton away, and he scored that goal and then came off injured. I think Arteta will always play. I think if he's the strongest 11, he will play Trossard and Martinelli. Also purely in terms of experience and those kind of games. So, I don't know. Yeah, it's thin now for sure. It is thin, and it's probably good for them. They don't play for another 10 days and they go away. I don't know if they're going to go to Dubai for that, like sun camp or whatever we call it, like warm weather camp. But
Warm weather
they could
training, duty-free shopping.
But they could do with a break for sure. Like a lot of other teams, it's not just Arsenal. A lot of players have played a lot. But it's a good thing for them they don't play for 10 days.
I just think more broadly when you look at just the scope of the injuries this season and the workload that people like Saliba, like Gabriel, like Odegaard, and obviously Kai
Rice.
Havertz, and
Yeah.
Declan Rice as well.
Yeah.
I just wonder when he looks back, it's something that obviously you revisit. And I don't like, whenever teams of guys who are injured, people question the medical stuff. Unless you're a doctor and have visited these players and you know exactly, you should not be talking about it because it is a crapshoot. Everybody's body's different. However, has been a lot of injuries, and I just wonder if maybe the squad management might not be something that he's looking to do differently next season. Maybe he was hoping Merino would have given them more quality minutes than he has.
Maybe.
Maybe at the back he was expecting. I don't know. I come to think of it. Maybe if Calafiori had been fit, maybe we've seen more center half rotation as well. Or with Kivior and Timber didn't have to play fullback every game. I don't know, but I look at this and these 10 days are going to be big. They need to get their beauty sleep.
Yeah, they need a rest.